Yep, that's me.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Phasmophobia is an amazing horror game you can play with your friends, but it's got a bit of a learning curve to it, and this is only exacerbated by the fact that this game does not hold your hand in the slightest. With the new update releasing Phasmophobia to consoles, I decided it's time to remake my beginner's guide so that I can help all the new Phasmo players, both on PC and coming from console, go from this.
You don't have a smudge, do you? I'm dead. I'm dead. Yep, I'm cheeks are clapped. Yeah, nah, I'm dead. I'm gonzo. I'm gonzo.
To this. So the first thing I want to mention is everything we cover will be labeled in a chapter section, so if you need to save the video and come back for a specific section, it should be easily accessible. Phasmophobia is a ghost hunting game, and the objective is to determine which ghost is haunting the place of residence you choose. There are many haunted estates you can choose from, but for the sake of this video, we will focus on the original and generally easiest map, which is Tanglewood. Most maps in this game start locked behind levels anyways, and if you are wondering what levels you will need to reach to unlock them all, I'll quickly put them up on screen. Personally, I think it's good to learn the ropes on one map, as you will start to get more and more familiar with the mechanics of the game, and you'll also start to really learn your first map. So to determine what ghost is haunting the chosen place of residence, you will begin by trying to find the 3 pieces of evidence the ghost gives. The 7 core evidence you can receive during your investigation is EMF level 5, D.O.T.S, Ultraviolet, Ghost Orbs, Ghost Writing, Spirit Box, and Freezing Temperature. There are currently 24 ghosts implemented in the game, each with their own evidence and unique abilities. Now, the abilities of ghosts are a lot more complicated, so I won't go over them in this video because it can honestly add a whole nother hour to the video, and that's just way too much info for a new player. So we're just going to focus on the 3 pieces of evidence. Before we cover evidence, let's talk about ghost interactions because it's gonna make more sense when we start talking about EMF level 5. The ghost can interact with you or the environment in a multitude of ways, like throwing items to manifesting and walking through you. These are just a few ways the ghost can interact with you, but be on the lookout for anything the ghost might be doing, as it will be crucial to both finding evidence and the ghost's favorite room. Let's cover our first piece of evidence, EMF level 5. This evidence is found by using the EMF reader. Simply turn it on and move the EMF reader near something the ghost has interacted with. For example, if a ghost touches a door and you bring your EMF reader over to the door, the little needle should jump to another number. Now, all ghosts leave EMF, that part is universal. However, what we are looking for is for our EMF reader to register 5. On the tier 1 EMF reader you start the game with, it will look something like this. Notice how it goes beyond 5. Tier 1 equipment tends to be a little harder to read, or in some cases slightly unreliable. So if the needle touches EMF 5 but goes back down, it technically could just be EMF 4. However, if you notice the needle go way past 5, it's pretty safe to say you got your evidence. Once you have your evidence, you're going to want to open your book, go to the Evidence tab, and select EMF level 5. You will notice it puts an X in the box, and this will gray out a good percentage of ghosts. Congratulations, you are just that much closer to getting the ghost correct. If you select EMF level 5 again, it will cross out this evidence and rule out different ghosts. You can use this during investigations to narrow things down, however, for now, I'd recommend against it. This is because certain ghosts can be fickle and just not show their evidence for a while. There are some exceptions where you can rule out the evidence with certainty, and we will cover those exceptions and how it works when we get to them. One last thing to say about EMF is that if the ghost does an event, most, if not all, your electronics will start to malfunction, and these will give false readings, so do not fall into that trap. Once the event ends, you can take the EMF reader to the spot where the ghost was last standing or moving, and then check the reading. Moving on to our next piece of evidence, we have dots. Alright, I'm not gonna lie to you, tier 1 dots is rough. It's basically a flashlight that casts little dots and will capture the ghost model when it does a dots event, which is easier to see when the lights are off. The problem is, the area it casts is very small and the ghost does dots pretty infrequently, so it can make it quite a challenge to find this piece of evidence. There are two ways you could go about trying to capture dots. Option A, you hold the dots and slowly scan the room you believe the ghost is in. You do this for a while, maybe a minute or two until you get the evidence, or you mentally can't take it anymore, whichever comes first. What I like to do personally is have someone hold the dots and scan the room while I set up all the other evidence. And if they don't get dots by the time I'm done, I move to option B, setting up the dots to point towards a high travel area for the ghost. Basically, what that means is I look for narrow areas the ghost has to walk between or the center of small rooms. The ghost will wander aimlessly throughout the house but stay mostly in one particular room, also known as the favorite room. It's easier to understand how dots works when you understand that the ghost is always walking around. You just can't see it. Well, that is unless it does a ghost event or starts a hunt. Keeping that in mind, it can't phase through objects like you probably think they do. The ghost can only go where we can. Therefore, setting up dots in hallways or doorways is usually the better choice since it has to walk through those areas. Once you place your dots, you can use your video camera and place it facing the dots, allowing you to actually retreat back to the safety of the truck and watch for dots on the camera. Personally, I don't like this method because if you set up in the wrong area or if the ghost changes its favorite room, you could be sitting there for a while, but it is a good fallback plan. You will know you have dots when you see this. Once again, after you see that, you can write down your evidence in your book and rule out even more ghosts. Now onto our third evidence, we have ultraviolet or UV, and the way that UV works is pretty simple. You take your UV flashlight and shine it on a specific surface that the ghost has interacted with. For example, if it flicks a light switch, you can check the light switch for a fingerprint. You can also check doors for handprints, and finally, if you hear a knock on a window, that can also leave UV. The ghost can technically leave UV on other surfaces. Many of them are unique to the room, so there's just too many to cover, but just to give you an idea, I have seen UV on the cooler in the basement of Tanglewood. So when looking for UV, it wouldn't hurt to scan the room. One thing I do want to clarify is it will not leave UV on items it throws. So if it throws a kitchen plate, you don't have to check that. There is a little bonus point I'd like to add to UV, in that it has another piece of equipment that can help you find UV. And that piece of equipment is called salt. Salt, which is unlocked at level 9, can be placed on the ground, and if the ghost walks through it, it has a chance of leaving behind a UV footprint. So once unlocked, I would recommend bringing salt with you to try and force the ghost to show if it has UV. Another thing I want to say about UV is that it is on a timer, so once the ghost leaves the UV, try and do it as quick as possible, otherwise it may despawn and you could be led astray. Finally, there is a ghost who can suppress UV evidence. It's called an obake, and basically what that means is it has a 75% chance of leaving UV instead of the usual 100% chance. So always check more than once just to be sure it's not an obake. Bonus tip, because I like all of you, if you get a UV handprint that has 6 fingers like this, then you actually got lucky, as only the obake can leave that print. Sort of. We'll get to that later. Okay, enough about UV. Let's talk about ghost orbs. Ghost orbs are really, again, quite simple. Using the camcorder, you can walk around the haunted house looking through the little screen. If you happen to stumble across a little white orb floating around, then congratulations, you just found ghost orbs. They don't always pop up right away, so don't just grab the camera, quickly scan the room, and then throw it out. Sometimes it takes a bit of time for them to spawn, so take your time and slowly scan the room just to really make sure there are no ghost orbs. This is one piece of evidence you can rule out, because if it is in that room and you are sure of it, but there are no ghost orbs and you have checked everywhere, then, well, there are no ghost orbs. But always be thorough. Alright, next we have ghostwriting, and this one is nice because you technically don't even need to be there to get it. The way it works is you take your ghostwriting book and bring it into the ghost room. You're going to want to place it in an area where the ghost seems to be interacting a lot. When you go to place the book, you can actually see a white circle wherever you try to place it. That is the area in which the ghost can write in the book. This is why you want to make sure it is as close as possible to where the ghost is. Once placed, if the ghostwriting is a piece of evidence, then the ghost can begin to write in it and it will look like this. Now, this is another unique piece of evidence that can be ruled out because if the ghost closes and then throws the book, that is 100% a sign that it is not ghostwriting. I will say this though, be careful because if it writes in the book and you don't notice it, the ghost can throw it, so just pick up the book and check it for ghostwriting before you rule it out. Tier 1 ghostwriting can be very hard to see, so it's a lot easier to get wrong than you think. Next, we have the spirit box, one of my absolute favorite pieces of equipment. Why, you ask? Because it uses your actual microphone to talk to the ghosts. Fret not, dear viewer, if you don't have a microphone, there is an option to use text, although this is a team game and I'd highly recommend having some sort of communication. So, how does spirit box work? Remember that little white circle I was talking about with the ghost book? Well, essentially the spirit box does the same thing, except the circle moves with you as you walk around. The ghost has to be in that circle in order to respond, which can be a pain, especially with the low tier spirit box as the circle is quite small. There is no visual representation of it in the game, unfortunately, so you'll have to approximate. However, if you wanted to know the range, it's 3 meters. So if you can visualize that, great. If you can't, or you're like me and only know freedom units, then basically it's 10 feet. Now, sadly, you can't have full-blown conversations with the ghosts yet, but it will respond to certain key phrases. I'll go over the common ones and let you experiment and try to find the more other uncommon ones. You can try asking the ghost, are you friendly? Where are you? And how old are you? And no, it doesn't have to be in any particular order. When saying those phrases, it can proc the ghost to respond, and it will do so appropriately.
Elderly an attack.
Tragic killing.
For example, it can respond to how old are you with a young individual. Just be careful what you ask it because you might not always like what it has to say. One last thing I'll say is that make sure the spirit box is on. Speaking from experience, when I first started playing, I didn't realize you had to actually turn it on. You'll know it's on when you hear the incessant and unrelenting feedback noise. Also, something worth noting is when the lights turn red after you ask a question on the spirit box, the game recognizes the question. If the light turns white, then the ghost is whispering some sweet nothings into your ear and you got yourself a piece of evidence. Okay, before we move on, I want to address console players directly here. Unfortunately, voice recognition won't be implemented at launch for you guys. You'll have to wait for a future update, so you will have to use the text-to-voice options. Okay, we have made it to our final piece of evidence, and that one is called freezing temperatures. The way this evidence works is you grab your thermometer and you bring it to the ghost room. Slowly, it will trickle down and eventually plateau at a certain temperature. If that temperature is below 32 degrees of Fahrenheit, or 0 degrees Celsius, you have freezing temps. So a good rule of thumb is make sure it's around the halfway point, between 23 and 32 to be really sure. Otherwise, technically it could be false evidence since the tier 1 thermometer bounces up and down pretty frequently. Okay, so I'm going to take this moment and tell you to take a deep breath because that was a lot of information, and if you need to go back and rewatch anything, do it. We all learn and absorb at different paces, but all of that is foundational, so I really want to make sure you have it down so you can master the basics. Also, don't be afraid to take a break from the video. Go out, grab a coffee, touch some grass, whatever you need to do. This video isn't going anywhere, or at least I hope it's not. And when you're ready, you can continue wherever you left off. Alright, so we have the evidence down. Theoretically, you have everything you need to get the ghost correct, but there is more to know. And for that, we are going to move to our next topic, the exceptions. Now, there are really only 3 that I need to cover here. I plan on doing a ghost guide on every single ghost, going over all their evidence, unique abilities, blah blah blah. It's going to be very informative, but it's going to be an info dump in the likes of which you have never seen, so I won't do that to you. Not here at least. So, what are the exceptions? I lovingly named them the killer, the troll, and the asshole. What? I can't say that here? Oh. This ghost is going to be one of the most deadly ghosts in the beginning days of your Phasmo investigations because of his unique hunting ability. His name is the Deogen, and he knows where you are at all times. He is the living embodiment, or I guess he'd be the unliving embodiment, of you can run but you can't hide. Now don't be too discouraged because there is good news. Before I tell you that, let's briefly explain what a hunt is, and I'll go more into details about them later in this video. Basically, a hunt will start when your sanity reaches a certain threshold, with each ghost giving its— why am I dying? With each ghost having its own sanity threshold to hunt. During this, the ghost will actively seek players, and once spotted will chase you until you either break a line of sight or they catch you. Don't let them catch you. However, the Deogen does not abide by those rules. It will start the hunt and sprint to the nearest player to the Deogen, even if it never saw you and you're in a hiding spot. But here's the good news. The Deogen will actually get slower the closer it gets to you, eventually getting so slow that you can outwalk it. Yeah, you don't even need to run. Here's the caveat. If you don't know it's a Deogen and you're in a hiding spot, it can corner you, and by the time you figure out what is happening, it's too late. Getting trapped by a Deogen is the equivalent of getting caught by the snail that kills you if it touches you. It's a tragic way to go, so if you think it's a Deogen, then what you want to do is find what is called a looping spot. This could be a counter or a car, something that puts a good amount of distance between you and the ghost, and you can walk around in a loop. If you get cornered and you can't get around him, the only thing you can do is use incense, also known as the smudge stick. You unlock these at level 14, and if you have matchboxes on you, which is another piece of equipment, you can light the smudge stick and it will blind the ghost. Now, in order for this to work, you have to be within 3 meters or 10 feet of the ghost. You will usually know it's working because the ghost will start walking randomly in a different direction, although not always. When the ghost is blind, you can actually walk through it, so you can use this opportunity to get yourself out of the trap and maybe to a looping spot or a long hallway where you can drag the hunt out.
You're fast. I love D.O.S. Well, that's pretty much the game just gave us this one. It doesn't get any easier than that.
Next we have the Troll, also known as the Mimic. He is and always will be the thorn in your side. Why? Because he can mimic any ghost's unique ability or hunting behavior. For example, he can give Obake handprints, which, if you remember, are the 6-finger handprint unique to them, or it can hunt just like a Deogen, making you think you know what the ghost is, but in reality, it's just the Mimic. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. The Mimic also always drops ghost orbs. The problem is, it's fake evidence designed to throw you off. So you might see the ghost orbs and mark it down and get completely derailed in your investigation. However, there is a simple way to combat this. For one, whenever you get ghost orbs, you can select it as evidence in your book, but always keep a mental note that a mimic is still possible. However, if you get EMF level 5, dots, or ghostwriting, you can rule the mimic out. That will become more muscle memory with time, but if you want to write it down as a little cheat sheet, that is also an option. If you're an experienced player, you will sigh at the sound of its name, and its name is Goryo. Probably one of the most hated ghosts in all of Phasmo, and the reason why is quite simple. It requires dots as an evidence, but will only give dots if there are no players in the room and the person is viewing the ghost through a video camera. Now, while that may not sound so bad, you will spend the majority of the investigation in the ghost room, which will immediately block one piece of evidence from showing. Furthermore, Goryos rarely show their dots, which will confuse you even more, as you could theoretically sit and watch dots for 5 to 10 minutes and still not get that piece of evidence. And yes, I have had that happen. This is easily one of the most annoying and frustrating ghosts, so if you get it wrong, don't feel bad. The two ways you can try and figure it out is by either having someone watching cams while you sit outside the room and look in. If you ever see dots without a video camera, it cannot be a Goryo. However, if the person on camera says they see dots but you don't, that is an indicator you probably have a Goryo. The other way is Goryos will never change their favorite room, although this tip won't help you as on amateur, ghosts don't change their favorite room anyways, but when you start getting up into the higher difficulties, that could help. Alright, so let's talk about Sanity. Sanity is essentially your safety net. It starts at 100% and will slowly decrease when you are in the house and in the dark, or if the ghost does an event on you. Turning the lights on in a room will decrease the amount of sanity you lose, but take note that every light, lamps included, have to be on in a room to halt sanity drain completely. The lower your sanity, the more likely a hunt could start. Now, sanity can actually be a great tool for your investigation, but you would have to know the hunting thresholds of all ghosts, and that comes with time. But I'll give one as an example. So, a shade can only hunt at 35% sanity. So if you have 60% sanity and a ghost has tried to hunt you, you can technically rule out shade, as that's impossible. As you conduct your investigations, generally speaking, you want to keep your sanity as high as possible. This will prevent the ghost from starting a hunt, which could result in the death of you or your friends. With that being said, I'm going to completely contradict myself here. Generally, lower sanity is better because you can actually start getting more interactions out of the ghost. The higher the sanity, the more the ghost will be reserved in its actions. So it can make it difficult to find the ghost room or to start figuring out what the ghost is based on its abilities if your sanity is always at 100%. Again, that's more of an advanced technique, but for you as a beginner, try and keep it as high as possible. That will keep you safe. There are a few ways to actually recover sanity. One is by using sanity medication, the other is by using cursed possessions, which we will talk about later. We're going to talk about sanity medication here because that's the safest method. So, sanity medication, which you unlock at level 16, will restore a certain percentage of your sanity. This changes with the difficulty that you play on. For example, on amateur, they will always restore 40% sanity. A common misconception is that higher tier sanity medication recovers more sanity. This is not true. All it does is make recovery faster. For example, tier 1 sanity meds on amateur will give 40% sanity in 20 seconds, whereas tier 2 sanity meds still give 40%, but it's over a period of 10 seconds. Alright, well, let's talk about the inevitable. Hunts. Once your sanity reaches the threshold of your ghost, it can start a hunt. For example, most ghosts hunt at around 50% sanity, not all, but most. If you have, say, 45% sanity, the ghost can start a hunt at any time. If that happens, you are going to want to either turn off or drop all of your electronic equipment, as the ghost will be able to sense it and will track you down even if you're in a hiding spot. You can flick your flashlight as you run if you need to, but be aware it will alert the ghost every time you do that, so try to do it sparingly. You will want to find a closet or some boxes to hide behind. This will protect you as long as you don't have any electronic equipment turned on. It's also worth noting it can hear you talk. So either set up push to talk or mute your mic, otherwise you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. Now thankfully, on amateur, when the ghost decides to hunt you, you will receive what is known as a grace period of 5 seconds to run away and hide. I know this sounds like it's not a long time, but I assure you it is. One thing that can but not always differentiate between a hunt and an event is if you can see the ghost. If it's a hunt, you will never see the ghost until your grace period ends. So, if the ghost is making spooky sounds in the corner, but you can see him, it's not a hunt. There is one event that can trip you up, but it's better to play it safe and run if it happens than to make an assumption and be wrong. Alright, now that we've covered the basic mechanics of the game, let's jump in and quickly explore the lobby that you start in. Don't mind my decorations here, that's just part of the Halloween event. I'm releasing this video the day of console release, which coincides with the Halloween event. So if you're coming from the future and you're wondering why there is satanic memorabilia all over the walls, well, that is why. Anywho, when you first start the game, you'll be looking at this wall. Here, you can choose how you'd like to play the game. I'd recommend doing the tutorial if, for nothing else, you get an achievement. To the left of the board, you have another bulletin board, which has all the playable maps. Like I said, some will be locked because of level requirements. To the right, you have the shop interface. Now, the first thing I want to cover about the shop is the tutorial, because it will pop up every single time you go to use it unless you click through all the arrows and then the X. Please do that and spare your brain cells from the torture. The first tab in the shop we will cover is, well, shop. Here you can purchase equipment you need for the investigation, as well as upgrade your equipment to the next tier. For example, once I reach level 60, I will be able to buy the final tier of D.O.T.S. Every tier of equipment is more reliable than the previous, so I would upgrade them as soon as you unlock them. Upgrading equipment costs a one-time down payment, which will vary between items and tier levels. They are pretty expensive, but don't actually alter the cost of the equipment you bring. So, for example, a tier 1 D.O.T.S costs $65, and the tier 2 D.O.T.S also costs $65. The price never changes. Another helpful aspect of the shop tab is it will tell you the levels you need to unlock new equipment, and all the differences in the versions of that equipment. Again, I'll use D.O.T.S. Tier 1 you can see has a range of 5 meters and a narrow spotlight, whereas the tier 2 D.O.T.S has a range of 2.5 meters, but it casts it in a full circle. Use this to learn more about your equipment as you purchase your upgrades so you can get a better idea on how they work. Knowledge is power, friends. The next tab we have is the Equipment Manager, and this tab is used to add or remove equipment to the truck that you plan on using. A quick detour, this only works if you're in a single or multiplayer lobby. Alright, so say I want to bring 2 D.O.T.S on my investigations because I only have tier 1 and tier 1 is paying. I simply click on the little plus here and it's added to the truck. We can move over to the other screen to confirm, and yep, there it is, my little green diamond. If we go back to the Equipment Manager tab, we can see a little cardboard box right here. That lets you know how much of that item you have. If you don't have, say, 1 D.O.T.S, you won't be able to add it to the truck. So just go back to the store, click on the D.O.T.S, click buy, and now if you go back, it should say 1, or in this case 2. That can be added or removed depending on what you want or need for your investigation. Moving on to our final tab, for now, is the quick loadouts. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever used the Equipment Manager in my life because quick loadouts is just far more efficient and better. Basically, how it works is you select one of your loadout slots and add how many of each equipment you want and what tier you want. Generally speaking, bringing the highest tier of each equipment is the best way. Once you have selected the loadout that you want, you can hit enable and it should save the loadout and auto-equip it to the truck. You can even hit this button to change the name of your loadout. One final thing I want to say is you can design different loadouts in contrast with your friends. That way you can all share the burden of buying and paying for equipment in the event of any ghost shenanigans. There is another tab that says coming soon that is going to be a place where we'll be able to buy customizations for our characters like new jackets and such. This has not been implemented yet, but it is in the works. Just figured I'd go over it for all those who are curious. On to our next point of discussion is the wall of equipment. This does nothing, other than showcase all the equipment you will unlock in the different tiers. Really not much else to say. Further down, we have the showcase section of the lobby. Here, you will be able to find all the bones you collect during your time as an investigator, which we'll cover that later, as well as the cursed possessions you have used. The backside of the trophy section will showcase all the event trophies you have and the trophies for Phasmophobia's hardest challenge, the Gold Apocalypse Challenge. Heading up the stairs is the rec room. Here, you can play Jenga, basketball, cornhole, yes, that is the name of the game, and yes, I did have to Google that, ring toss, and finally, bowling. Why this section exists, I have no idea. Next, we have the door to Gertrude's room. She's just in there vibing, we don't really got much to say about her. Next to her room is the event board. This is a brand new feature for everyone. Here, you will be able to keep track of all events and special challenges. For example, we can see the ongoing Halloween event. This is a nice, new, and neat way of showing you special things you still need to complete in Phasmophobia for those sweet, cool badges. Below the event board on the desk is 2 clipboards, which show you your daily and weekly tasks. Completing these will earn you extra cash. Try and complete them, although most are pretty good and complete themselves on their own as you play the game. I wasn't going to cover the truck here as most stuff is turned off, but I will mention that they did move your last photos taken in here for you to look at, as originally it was on the event board. Figured I'd mention that here for all of you sentimental investigators. Alright, now we're going to cover the truck. So, every round starts in the truck, and as you may or may not have noticed, the truck is a lot more lively, and we're going to cover all of that. Let's start with the computer. Here, you can look at the cameras scattered throughout the map. Now, Tanglewood only has one, and it's pointing outside, so it's pretty much useless. However, if you use a video camera, it will connect to the computer, allowing you to set up cameras in rooms so you can monitor in safety. Like I said, this is usually used for DOTS. If you interact with the keyboard, you can turn night vision on and off on the camera as well, so you don't have to go back in and do it manually. Next to the computer, we have the setup clock. On the amateur difficulty, the game gives you 5 minutes to find the ghost room and set up all your equipment in said room. No matter what your sanity is, the ghost cannot hunt you while the timer is going. The timer will start to count down the second you open the front door, so if you're really nervous, one tip I can recommend is actually grabbing all your evidence and putting it by the front door, as this will allow you to maximize your safety time. Do take note that if you used a cursed possession, it will immediately set the timer to 0, so use those with extreme caution. Continuing on, we have the clipboards in the lobby to help remind you of the tasks you still need to complete. And next to that is the bulletin board. Here you will find your case number. For you, it should be 1. The name of the ghost will be right underneath that and can be said to agitate the ghost. Again, I would do that with caution. Below that, it will say who it responds to. If it says everyone, that means anyone can be in the room to get spirit box. But if it says alone, then you have to be the sole person in the room to get a response. On higher difficulties, that will say unsure, so a good rule of thumb when it's reported as unsure is to just assume it's alone. Next, you will see a bunch of dark spots on the board. These are where your photos go. You can only have 10, with 3 stars being the best photos. Finally, below that are the 3 secondary objectives. Completing these will earn you extra money, and if you complete all your objectives, have 10 3-star photos, find the bone, and get the ghost right, you will get an additional perfect investigation bonus. Moving to our right, we have the 4 screens. Starting in the top left and moving clockwise, we have the map of the location. Here you can see the layout of the map, including where the power box is and where your teammates are. Your teammates will appear as little dots moving around, and the power box looks like this. The last thing on the map we'll cover is the 2 arrows. If you click on the 2 arrows, they will switch between the different floors of the house. It always starts on the first floor or the ground floor, and depending on the house, it may have a basement or a second floor in which you can switch between. Next, we have the sound sensors chart. You unlock your first sound sensor at level 11, and you can take it back into the house and place it down anywhere. This will record audio in the house and play it back in the truck. It has niche uses which usually revolve around trying to determine ghost abilities, so you may not find a lot of use for these in the beginning. However, they can also be used to try and find the ghost room if you're trying to conserve sanity, so it has multiple applications. Below that, we have the activity screen, which shows you the amount of paranormal activity happening in the house. Paranormal activity won't start until you open the front door. This one has a lot more use, but again, most of it comes with experience. You can see EMF level 5 on the board if activity spikes from 0 to 5, then back to 0. Odds are you could have EMF level 5. But please take into consideration there is an element of randomness on the board, so it isn't a guarantee. You should always confirm EMF level 5 with your EMF reader. You can also take a guess on what the ghost is by the type and timing of activity. Overall, become friends with this board as it will provide a lot of support later on down the road. Finally, we have the last screen, which is your sanity monitor. We discussed sanity already, but here is where you can actually see what your sanity is during the investigation. If you're in multiplayer, you will also have your team's average sanity. When this number dips below certain thresholds, ghosts will be able to start to hunt. So it's always good to know what your sanity is so you are prepared. The last thing we will cover in the truck is the wall of equipment. Here you will see all the items that you have brought with you to the investigation. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You grab the item you want to bring with you off the rack and take it inside. You can carry 3 items and 1 igniter at all times. Before you leave the truck, don't forget to grab the keys so you can get inside the house. And also, if you don't know already, hit the keypad in order to open the truck door. Alright, there is one last thing we have to cover before I take you through an investigation, and that's cursed possessions. Now, my first instinct is to tell you not to touch them as they can and will lead to untimely deaths of you and your friends. But it wouldn't be the ultimate guide if I didn't cover literally everything there is. So, cursed possessions. They are there to aid you in your investigation, but make no mistake, they are not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. It usually involves heavy stipulations, like large decreases in sanity, forced ghost hunts, and straight up death if you're really unlucky. Alright, I'm going to pull 1 tarot card. Surely this will not be another hanged man. No f***ing way! Oh my god!
What? I can trying for 2 to hang man.
Personally, they should be a last resort when starting out, especially since you'll be playing small maps. They gain a lot more utility when playing on the larger maps, and usually you can weigh the pros and cons once you reach that point. There are currently 7 cursed possessions in the game, and each has a 1 in 7 chance of spawning. So let's start with the music box. The music box is a tool you can use to find the ghost. Once picked up, you can interact with it to start playing a song. If the ghost is within 20 meters of the box, it will sing along, allowing you to find where the ghost is. If the ghost is within 5 meters of the box, a forced ghost event will start where the ghost will walk towards the music box. If it doesn't reach the box in 5 seconds, a cursed hunt will start. If you're within 2.5 meters while the music box is playing, it will drain your sanity at around 2.5% per second, which if you listen to the whole song, it will eat a total of 75% of your sanity. This sanity drain can also affect other players, meaning it could drain everyone's sanity down to 25%, which would be catastrophic as every ghost can hunt at that point. Once you start playing the music box, the only way to safely discard it is by placing it somewhere. Do not throw the music box. If you do, it will break and a cursed hunt will start. Cursed hunts follow the same rules as the other hunts, except they are extended by 20 seconds, and this effect will last for the remainder of the investigation, regardless if the hunt is cursed or not. Next, we have the cursed mirror. Once you find this cursed item, you may pick it up and interact with it, causing you to stare into the mirror. The reflection you see will not be of yourself, but instead of the ghost room. This one is really only helpful once you start to master the maps and know what each room looks like, as most rooms have a large amount of similarities. Each usage of the haunted mirror will cost 7.5% sanity drain per second, or a hard cut of 20% sanity, whichever is higher. Continuous use of the mirror is dangerous, as once you reach 0% sanity and try or are using the mirror, it will shatter, starting a cursed hunt. The next cursed position we will cover is the Ouija board. The way this one works is simple. Once the board is found, you pick it up and hit the interact key. You will see the planchette fall down onto the board. This lets you know the board is now active. Now you may ask it questions via in-game voice chat or the text option. Each question will drain your sanity, some more than others. For example, the question, "Where are you?" will tell you where the ghost's favorite room is, but cost you 40% sanity. The board will answer anyone's questions that are within 5 meters of the board, and it does not need to be placed, although placing it makes it easier for everyone to see the answer. When you are done with the board, you must say goodbye. If you do not, the board will shatter and a cursed hunt will begin. If you reach 0% sanity using the board, it will also shatter and start a cursed hunt. Next, we have the summoner circle, and this one has limited use. The way it works is you must take your lighter and light all the candles. Each candle costs 16% sanity and will take it from each player nearby. Once all candles are lit, the ghost will appear before you, stuck in suspension for 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, you guessed it, a cursed hunt will start. This can really only help with 2 ghosts, a shade which can appear as a shadow, although it's not guaranteed, or a phantom in which if you take a photo of it and it disappears, it is a phantom. Next, we have everyone's favorite, tarot cards. If the tarot cards spawn, you'll be given 10 cards in the deck. They are completely random. You can pick up the deck and draw a card, after which the card will burn up. This cursed possession is unique, as once all cards are gone, a cursed hunt doesn't start. But don't get too excited, as the extended hunt is applied anyways. Each card has a unique effect. The tower increases ghost activity for 20 seconds, and you have a 20% chance of pulling this card. The Wheel of Fortune will either recover or drain your sanity depending on how it burns. Green good, red bad. You also have 20% chance of pulling this card. The Fool will pick a card, for example, Tower, but then switch to the Fool card and burn. No effect is applied, you just got played. It's worth noting that if a hunt has started, you will only pull Fool cards. The Devil triggers a ghost event to the player closest to the ghost, and you have a 10% chance of pulling that card. Death triggers a Cursed Hunt, also 10% chance of pulling that card. The Hermit teleports the ghost back to its ghost room and locks it there. Does not affect the ghost during hunts or events, and you also have 10% of pulling that card. The Sun will fully restore the player's sanity. You have a 5% chance of pulling this card. The Moon will fully drain your sanity, also 5% chance. High Priestess will revive a random player who is dead, and if everyone is alive, it will resurrect the next person who dies. You have a 2% chance of pulling this card. Finally, we have the Hangman, where you just get you have a 1% chance of pulling that card. Moving on to the second to last cursed possession, we have the Voodoo Doll. The way the Voodoo Doll works is each time you interact with it, a pin is pushed in. You will lose 5% sanity, but the ghost is forced to interact with something. You can use this to help find the ghost room, or even try and get it to give you evidence like EMF 5 or UV. Be careful, because each pin is chosen at random, and if you push the heart pin in, you lose 10% sanity and a cursed hunt will begin. As always, if you use it at 0% sanity, all pins will push in and a cursed hunt will start. Our final cursed possession is the Monkey Paw. This one will grant you up to 5 wishes depending on the difficulty modifier. The Monkey Paw works with both voice chat and text chat. Keep in mind every wish has a negative stipulation to it. There are 3 categories for wishes: the ghost, the player, and other. Starting with the ghost, we have I wish to see the ghost, I wish for activity, I wish the ghost would do something, I wish the ghost was trapped, I wish to trap the ghost. Next, the player category, I wish for sanity, I wish to be sane, I wish to be safe, and I wish to leave. Finally, we have the other category, which is I wish for life, I wish to revive my friend, I wish for knowledge, I wish for weather, which you can choose between clear sky, fog, rain, snow, or sun. The final wish, I wish for anything. One final thing I'll say is when holding the Monkey Paw, it remains active, so be careful with what you say or you could accidentally do something unintended.
Okay, oh, it may not be Spirit Box. It could not be a mimic.
We have Monkey Paw. Should I wish for knowledge? Oh, no! Damn it. Why did I say that out loud? No.
You got us all killed.
Oops. Alright, so now we are here in an actual investigation. I'm going to show you how to do a perfect investigation. Now, you're not obligated to do a perfect investigation, but I want to make sure you all know how to do one for whenever you're ready. So, first thing when conducting an investigation, you're going to want to find the ghost room. So, when you're trying to find the ghost's favorite room, and I just heard a door touch. It was this door. Okay, so perfect. So what I was going to say is you want to listen very closely for any sounds that may give me clues, like doors opening or items being thrown. Well, this was a door being touched. So now that I've found the ghost room, I want to set out. And the first thing I want to do is actually go back and grab UV. Because it touched the door, it can technically leave UV, so I want to make sure if it did leave UV that I get it. I also want to grab this as it can help me find another couple of items that I'm looking for, like ghost orbs. Ghost orbs will show me which room exactly is it hiding in. I gave myself a few extra items just because I wanted to do, like I said, a perfect investigation, so that's why I have a couple extra items. I was going to do one with 0 items. I think it's in here. I definitely think it's in here. Let's see if I can... Okay, yeah, well, there you go. So, ghost orbs right there. So, alright, we'll select ghost orbs. We'll keep in mind that it still can be a mimic. This has kind of a good spot for a camera. Like I said, you'll get a tripod at some point, which will make life much easier. Let's scan the room really quickly for any UV. I don't see any. Let's try Spirit Box. I've been doing it with the text option, but I do want to do it with the other option so I can show you guys what it's like. And since I'm doing a video, I feel like this is the better way to do it. So, are you here? Are you close? Where are you? It's not recognizing my voice. Oh, there we go. Okay. Are you here? Are you close? Please talk to me. Where are you? Do I need to be closer? Hello? Where are you? No, that didn't do anything either. Okay, so I think whenever you use text-to-speech, you have to relaunch the game to fix it, because I am noticing that that's broken. So, interesting. We'll come back for that. Alright, so let's step out for a second, save our sanity, and look at the other objectives and other things we need to do. So, we need to have a member of our team escape the ghost during a hunt. Great, I didn't really bring that many smudge sticks, so that's going to be interesting. Get an average sanity below 25%. That's not too bad. Detect a paranormal sound with the parabolic microphone. Basically, the only one that kind of stinks is the one that we need to use the smudge stick, although I do have one, and we don't have to cleanse the area, so I can actually use it for escaping. So, not that bad. Now that I know where the ghost room is, I want to spend some time. I have 2 minutes, which is way more than enough time. I want to go around and see... Oh, it's messing with the lights. I want to see if I can find the bone. That is the next big thing that I want to try and track down. So that should be good for dots. We'll check in here later. Once we find the bone, I do want to take a photo of it, so let's quickly see if we can find that. I'll see you guys when I find the bone. Okay, well, there it is. So, we're just going to go ahead and make sure. Okay, so 3-star photo. We need 10 3-star photos. That's kind of a pain, but it is worth it. I wouldn't say doing perfect investigations is worth it on amateur, since you only get times 1 multiplier. But once you start doing, like, professional, I definitely start considering prioritizing perfect investigations. Or if you do no evidence runs, then you're really going to start making money. But if you're doing no evidence runs, then you're probably not going to be watching this video. Okay. Stepped in the salt. Let's see if I can't... Alright, I'm not seeing UV on that. Now, technically, it still can be an obake, so I don't want to rule out UV just yet. We will try and get another couple of salt steps to really rule out obake. It's doing a whole lot of nothing. It can be a mare too. The fact that I have the light on and it's doing nothing is making it awfully suspicious that it's a mare. Okay. Oh, was that dots? That may have been dots. I may have just missed it. I think it touched this door again. Okay, it just threw the book, so it cannot be ghostwriting. So just because I like to be thorough and I want to show you guys what I'm talking about, I'm going to pick up this book and I'm going to look and see. No ghostwriting, so it cannot be ghostwriting. We can rule that out with certainty. So if we rule that out, that rules out our mare, which is interesting. Oh, it's a Urei. Okay, well, that's would make sense why there's no ultraviolet. Yeah, it's just a Urei. Okay, so I'm gonna explain why it's a Urei, just because I feel like that's kind of important. The reason why I know it's a Urei is because Ureis have a special ability where they can fully open or close doors. They're the only ghost that can do that outside of events. It's important to note that it has to be outside of an event. It can also touch the front door, which if that did it right now, that would be awfully suspicious. Again, outside of an event. Oh, another photo. Okay, touched a door somewhere. I don't... It's touching a lot of doors, which again is a Urei thing to do. I'm trying to get it to do more interaction so I can take more photos. It needs to step in that salt. I don't think it's gonna step in that salt, I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's start getting the other equipment ready for the perfect investigation. How's my sanity doing? Oh, we are perfectly good on sanity. So we'll throw a crucifix in there, just for safety. Crucifixes will prevent hunts from starting. That will pretty much give me a good indicator when my sanity is low enough for hunts. Then I'll have to be careful. Unfortunately, the tier 1 crucifix only gives me 1 charge, so it can only be used once. But it is, it's better than nothing. So, let's go ahead, throw some more salt there. We'll take some more photos, and now we just really need to pay attention to see what it's throwing. so we can get those photos. I am going to set this up just because I wanted to throw it. Again, just trying to farm those interactions. I can't tell if it's touching... I think it's touching this door. Let's give it a shot. Okay, it was. Perfect. Oh my god, that scared me for a second. I don't know why. Just did. Alright, let's see if we can get lucky and see if we can get like a D.O.T.S photo. D.O.T.S photos are pretty tough, especially with this camera. I'm really just trying not to get a 2-star photo. That would be a bummer. Okay. I don't think I can take a picture of that, but that rules out Oni, which, again, we know already. You know what I haven't tried again is... I think I missed. I did miss, okay. I'm pretty sure that was D.O.T.S, like, almost, like, 100%. Which, again, would pretty much rule in Yurei, but because I'm paranoid... Ooh, that was under 32, but it bounced back up again. Come on. See, that's where I get nervous. It can be unreliable. Oh my god, I think that was D.O.T.S again. Oh, it touched the door again, fully. Perfect. We only need 2 more photos. Are you here? Are you close? Touched another door. I think it was this one. Okay, it was not this one. I have to be very careful because I no longer have any more. Okay, so I can get my 2 photos here. So that's... What? What? I've been trolled! So that's supposed to give me an interaction photo, but for some reason it didn't give me an interaction photo, which has now completely tanked my perfect investigation run. We're gonna keep doing it just because... Just for the sake of the essence of completing a perfect investigation, but that should not have happened. It was supposed to be an interaction photo and a burned crucifix. It denied me 1, so that's crazy. But okay, fine, whatever. I'm not mad. I'm just seething. Oh my god, dude, my sanity's terrible. Alright, sanity below 25% isn't going to be too hard. We'll do the parabolic microphone. We'll probably smudge it in the living room and then run into a hiding spot depending on where the ghost goes. So let's turn that on. Actually, we don't even really need to do that. One of the things I want to talk about, I'm not sure if I made mention of it, I wanted to look for the bone while I was finding the ghost room. I didn't get the opportunity to do that because the bone was in the middle of the living room, so that was pretty lucky. But usually, once you know where the ghost is, you want to try and find that bone if you want to get a perfect investigation. Okay, that was a double door touch, another thing a Yurei can do. I gotta mute myself in game. I'm gonna get killed. I keep forgetting and I keep yapping. Alright, another double door touch. I mean, I've never been more confident in my life that this is a Yurei. Alright, it's starting a hunt. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Alright, technically that should count. It did count. Okay, perfect. So that was easy. That's all you have to do to escape a hunt. It's really not that bad. People get really worked up about hunts and they get nervous. You don't need to be nervous. Just keep your cool, stay calm, cool, and collected, and you'll be fine. That was just an event. Although my sanity is now fully in the garbage. Oh my god. It's gonna start another hunt. This isn't the best hiding spot because it's just so close to the ghost that one of these times it's gonna just open the door and kill me. Finally. Alright, so we found the bone. We should have had all 3-star photos, and we've completed all 3 of the objectives, and we know the ghost is a Yurei. So unfortunately, it's not going to come up as a perfect investigation because this game cheats, but you know how to complete one. So we'll pack up, we'll go home, and we'll see if I'm right. If I'm wrong, then everyone, I want you to go pause the video, go down, and smash dislike, because there's no reason why I should get this wrong on amateur. Yeah, okay.
Phew.
Alright, well everyone, I believe that covers everything, but if I missed something, leave it down in the comments. Honestly, there is so many quirks and mechanics in this game, I'm bound to have overlooked a few. Before you go and start your ghost hunting journey, I'd like to ask if you could do me one favor and leave this video a like. It's one thing that helps the YouTube algorithm push the video out to more people and thus can help more people. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in my comments, I will answer them. If you like the spooky horror kind of content, you could also consider subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated. Finally, I stream Phasmophobia every Wednesday on Twitch, going over the weekly challenges and how to complete them. So if that interests you or you want to ask me questions live, definitely head over there. I'd be glad to help. Alright, no more shameless plugs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I wish you the best of luck in all of your ghost hunting adventures, truly, and I will see you all in the next one. Good luck.